everybody knows deep and wide.
Okay, deep and wide.
Yeah, it's just a chorus.
Okay,
it's not in the hymn.
Okay. Any other songs that you suggest?
Then we can go right into 181 from deep and wide. That's a natural flow. 181.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We're going to start with some music, and we're going to sing a song that hopefully everyone knows. It's called Deep and Wide. It's not in the hymnal. Deep and wide, deep. That is not in the hymnal. No, it is not. It's downstairs. That's a camp song right there. That's a Sabbath school song. All right. What? Oh, no. I'll put it on my ear permanently. Just I don't want to hear people hearing me sing. Actually, no, this will work. All right, so our first hymn is 181. 181. All right, let's sing one more, and I'm thinking 286. 286. It's Wonderful Words of Life. 286. All right. Thank you, Jonathan, for giving us some wonderful music along with our wonderful praise to God through our words. It's awesome to be able to sing hymns and the hymn books that we have with countless songs. Some of us, we don't even know all of them. Like me, I don't know most of them. I know some of them since my youth, but I don't know all of them. We always find new ones. So that first one that we sang, that was a new one to me. That was a beautiful song to sing. Well, welcome to our prayer meeting. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm sorry I wasn't here last week. I had to be at Cahutta Springs for meetings. They call me there every once in a while to spend 24 hours there to meet and talk about certain things that are going on. So I wish I watched you guys on live stream for as much as I could before they called me away again. So it was really nice to at least fellowship with you for a short while. John could not be here tonight, just so you guys know. John caught the flu, and he probably caught it from his his grandson, Donovan. Donovan got the flu last week, and now John has it. And I was talking to Erwin while he was picking up Reagan today, and Erwin didn't even know that John was sick. So hopefully Erwin doesn't get it, and hopefully Cheryl doesn't get it. So Reagan and Donovan's actually sick again. So that household's got a lot of sickness going on. So that's why the Wentworth family, is not here with us tonight. So we should definitely pray for them and their sickness as they're dealing with that. Before we begin our study, I'd like to have a word of prayer. So let's bow our heads. Dear Jesus, we thank you for bringing us here tonight. We thank you for your wonderful words of life that give us life every day. We can pick up your word and we can read it, and we can understand how much you love us and care about us, and how much you want us to follow your plan for our lives. Because, Lord, that plan will help us succeed not only in this world, but it will help us succeed eternally. So, Lord, I want to pray that you be with us now as we look into these wonderful words of life, as we look into your word for a brief time, and we thank you so much for the opportunity to read your word. In your precious name I pray. Amen. All right, let's turn to Judges chapter 13. Judges chapter 13. The book of Judges chapter 13. Now, if you guys know anything about the book of Judges, it can be kind of depressing. Only for the fact that every single time the Lord saves his people, the next chapter says, "And Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and handed them in the hands of the Ammonites or the Philistines." And it just never seems to get resolved. And the time period that they get stuck underneath the Philistines or the Ammonites seems to get longer and longer. They have a harder time coming back to the Lord when God continues to intervene in their lives. Well, in this particular case, most of you know the story of Samson. How Samson kind of wandered off from what God wanted him to do, but God still used him not to complete what God had fully intended for him. But I want to look at the birth of Samson. I want the story of the birth of Samson, because this is the only part of Samson that sometimes people, you don't hear this part of the story that much. Kids always hear, how Samson was this strong guy, had his hair cut, and then he killed 3,000 Philistines with just taking down 2 pillars. That's the biggest part of the story that you hear. But I think it's really awesome to look at his origin story, how he came to be, and how God brought him into the world. And I've been reading Judges in my devotional time, so I've been reading through the book of Judges. So this is something that I read recently that I just want to share with you, because it was definitely interesting to me to see, and it was profound to read it. So Judges chapter 13, verse 1. Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. Philistines 40 years. Pretty much the same old story. But I'd like it if somebody could read verse 2. Do we have somebody who will read verse 2? I don't know if we have. Oh, Annette's got the mic. Awesome. So you can take that mic, Daryl, and read for us verse 2.
A certain man of Zorah, named Manoah, from the clan of the Danites, had a wife who was sterile and remained childless. The angel of the Lord appeared to her and said, "You are sterile and childless, but you are going to conceive and have a son." I think I went through 3 also.
That's okay. Don't worry. We'll stop right there for now. So, looking at verse 2, does this story sound familiar in any way? Is there anywhere in the Bible where it's kind of a similar story? So Abraham and Sarah. You could probably think of countless. You have Zacchaeus and his wife.
Not Zacchaeus,
Zechariah. Thank you. I talked about Zacchaeus this past. That's why it's on my mind.
Samuel's mother.
Samuel's mother. There's a lot of people in the Bible where same story. And it's sad. But what's awesome is when we read that and we see that happening, for some odd reason we can understand, well, if this person already can't have children, God seems to always point that person out because he wants to show how great he is. If this person can't seem to have children, who has been told that they are barren and they cannot have children, God always likes to come in and say, well, not unless you have me, because I can bring forth a child for you. So, as Daryl had read, in verse 3, the angel of the Lord appears to Manoah's wife. Sadly, Manoah's wife doesn't actually get a name in this story. But the angel says, but you will bear. You will have a son. But of course, there are stipulations to that too. So, somebody want to read verse 4 and 5? 4 and 5. 4 and... Gary, got the mic right there.
Now therefore, please be careful. Be careful not to drink wine or similar drink, and not to eat anything unclean. For behold, you shall conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines.
Okay. So, the angel of the Lord comes and tells Manoah's wife, you're going to have a son, but you need to take care of yourself, because I want this child to be healthy. I also want this child to be dedicated to me, because he is going to vanquish the Philistines and save Israel. He's going to his mission was to completely eradicate the Philistines. And that was supposed to be the end of the Philistines right there. They were no longer going to bother Israel anymore. Well, of course, he doesn't fulfill that completely, because we know the Philistines come back later in years, like with David and Goliath and all these other stories. So he doesn't completely fulfill his mission in taking out the Philistines, because unfortunately he went on a wrong path. But he still was able to really hurt the Philistines to the point that one day David would be able to vanquish the Philistines for good. The Philistines would be gone. So she asks the angel of the Lord, make sure she knows that this child is going to be from God. But we want you to dedicate that child to him. We want you to take care of yourself, and he's going to be a Nazarite. And the Nazarites were people who didn't have their hair cut. They were not supposed to touch anything dead, and they were not supposed to take anything from the vine. Those are the 3 things. And usually it was temporary. But Samson was supposed to do this throughout his entire life. Complete Nazarite. He was going to be a Nazarite throughout his years. Unfortunately, he broke that vow a couple times throughout his time. But let's continue with our story. Verse 6 and 7. Pam.
Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, a man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. But he said unto me, behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and thou drink no wine nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death.
Okay. So he was supposed to be a Nazarite from the time he was born to the day that he would die. His lifetime. However long his lifetime would be, that is how long he was supposed to be a Nazarite. Now what I love is this woman, she comes straight to her husband. Doesn't ask the man who he is, probably awestruck by whoever this man was, and says, I just saw a man of God. A man of God came to me, and it was like the appearance of the angel of God.
And most Bibles put an A in it.
Yeah, most Bibles put, yeah.
Because this is what we call a theophany.
Mm-hmm.
Christ showing up.
Yeah.
Before his incarnation.
So just what John was saying, because it wasn't on the mic, for those who are watching at home, there was in most versions, there is an A to capitalize angel, so angel of the Lord, which is like a theophany or kind of a Christ appearance, where Jesus shows up, the Spirit of the Son of God. God the Son shows up. So she says that she sees this could possibly be the angel of the Lord who's come. Now what I love next is Manoah's reaction. Normally you would think someone would like, are you sure you saw something? Are you just dreaming? Because you probably do want a son really, really bad. Verse 8. Does somebody want to read verse 8? Jean.
Then Manoah prayed to the Lord and said, O my Lord, please let the man of God whom you sent come to us again and teach us what we shall do for the child who will be born.
Manoah had faith, really strong faith. Not only, he didn't question his wife about the man of God, instead he prays to God and asks, will you bring the man of God back and tell us personally, not only does he believe it's the man of God, but he also believes what the man of God said, that we're going to have a son. And he wants specifically to know, him and his wife specifically want to know how to raise this child up. Now, quick lesson for parents. That's something that I think parents should always do. When they have a child or when they know a child is on the way, we have a couple of babies that are going to be born in our church soon. It's going to be awesome to see them all. They should be praying and asking God, what do you want me to do with this child? How do you want me to teach this child? We could learn a lot from Manoah and his wife with this. But I think what I've learned so much from this story is the faith of Samson's parents. Manoah and his wife have really incredible faith. They take their experience from what they see. They don't question the experience. Instead, they want more of that experience. So let's continue reading 9, 10, and 11. 9, 10, and 11. Does anybody want to read 9, 10, and 11? Karen?
And God hearkened unto the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God came again unto the woman as she sat in the field. But Manoah, her husband, was not with her. And the woman made haste and ran, and showed her husband, and said unto him, Behold, the man hath appeared unto me that came unto me the other day. And Manoah arose and went after his wife, and came to the man, and said unto him, Art thou the man that speaketh unto the woman? And he said, I am.
All right, so the Lord listens to what Manoah says. And the man of God appears again, appears to the woman, appears to the wife. She goes back, doesn't even talk to the man again, from what the text tells us, and then gets him, brings him back. Now, of course, you could question his question where he's saying, so are you the person who came to my wife and told me all about this? He does question him once, okay? But he's just making sure that it's the man of God who met him, that met her. So let's keep going. 12, 13, and 14. Bill?
And Manoah said, Now let the words come to pass. How shall we order the child? And how shall we do unto him? And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Of all that I have said upon the woman, let her beware. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I command her, let her observe.
Okay. Manoah takes this man at his word right off the bat. And he then questions, so, how do you want us to teach this child? Like, what is it that you told? Is there anything else that you want to add? And he pretty much repeats, like word for word, what he said, except he adds something at the beginning. He does add something at the beginning of it. He says, she may not eat anything that comes from the vine. She. Okay? That's talking specifically about the wife. Prenatal. Yeah, prenatal. So whatever you put in your body, whatever influences you have, you need to completely take care of yourself because it will affect the child inside. I'm sure that's nothing new to those who have had children in here. Okay? It affects the children later on. So he asks to make sure, he wants to know how to raise this child. And he's having extreme faith in, this child doesn't even exist yet. But they're going off the idea, he's having faith in the idea that this child is coming. And he's trying to prepare for it already. This has been like probably in the span of a day. Who knows? Who knows how long it's been? So I need someone to read 15, 16, and 17. Jerry.
Then Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, Please, let us detain you, and we will prepare a young goat for you. And the angel of the Lord said to Manoah, Though you detain me, I will not eat your food. But if you offer a burnt offering, you must offer it to the Lord. For Manoah did not know he was the angel of the Lord.
And 17.
Then Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, What is your name? That when your words come to pass, we may honor you.
Okay. What do you know about this part of the story? Like, what do you notice about this part of the story? I'm just curious. Get some feedback. Daryl?
Many times when angels appeared to men, they were glorified. Many times when angels appeared to man,
Yeah, it's on.
to men in the Bible, the angels were glorified, and there was no question in the minds of the humans that they were being visited by the angel, and in some cases the archangel of God. But in this case, obviously, Manoah couldn't tell the difference between this angel and a normal human being. For some reason, God sent him in the form of a man, like he did the three men that visited Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Anybody else want to share? Doesn't need to be anything special in any way. Jean? Okay, and we'll come back to Annette.
This one was different from what happened with Abraham, and that is Abraham was able to feed them. This time, the angel of the Lord said, don't do that, just offer a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sacrifice to God. So,
Okay.
and there was one other thing I want to bring out earlier, and that is where he said, they asked, are you the man? And then he said, I am. It's also using the names of God.
Yep.
I am, the great I am.
You want to say something, Annette? Okay. She stole it? Okay. So yeah, that's a strange part of the story. Manoah asks, hey, can you stay here? I want to make something for you. And he's like, nope, which probably, thinking this was a man of God, because that seems to be what's his premises. Well, why wouldn't the man of God want something to eat? Like, why not? So this is why he asked the question in verse 17. So what is your name? So that when your words come true, that we may honor you. What's your name? Verse 18, I'm going to read verse 18 and, verse 18. And the angel of the Lord said to him, why do you ask my name, seeing it is wonderful? See, when I was reading this into my devotions, secret will also say secret. Some versions will also say something along the lines of it being unknown, I think. Beyond understanding. That's what beyond understanding. So, why do you ask my name, seeing it is wonderful? Or beyond understanding, or is secret? And when I read that, I just think about how powerful, mysterious, and wonderful God is. Like, even Manoah at this time still doesn't understand. Like, even after what the angel says, still has no idea. If you think of any other story in the Bible where the person asked the name, it was Jacob who asked the man who was wrestling, so who are you? And he wouldn't tell him. Wouldn't tell him at all. And this time he wouldn't tell him either. But he says, it's too great for you to understand. It's too wonderful, seeing that it is wonderful. When I read that, it just made me appreciate my God even more. Like, he's so mysterious. He's so wonderful. There's so many things about God that we still yet to understand. And yet, we love him more than anything else. We want God in our lives more than anything else. And it's just amazing to see that response from the angel. I mean, Manoah and his wife wouldn't realize it at the time until just a short time later. So right after here. 19 and 20 says, so Manoah took the young goat with the grain offering and offered it on the rock to the Lord, to the one who works wonders. And Manoah and his wife were watching. And when the flame went up toward heaven from the altar, the angel of the Lord went up in the flame of the altar. Now Manoah and his wife were watching, and they fell on their faces to the ground. Yeah, you're just watching this guy, and all of a sudden, he's gone. Gone up in the flame. Like, who could it be? It's definitely not Elijah. Elijah didn't exist yet, because Elijah went up in the chariots of fire. But to see a man go up in a flame, at that moment, that's when they realize they were in the presence of God. Like, the Son of God was right there. God the Son was right there. It goes on to say, in 21 through 25, the angel of the Lord appeared no more to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was the angel of the Lord. And Manoah said to his wife, we shall surely die, for we have seen God. But his wife said to him, if the Lord had meant to kill us, he would have not accepted a burnt offering and a grain offering at our hands, or shown us all these things, or now announced to us such things as these. And the woman bore a son and called his name Samson. And the young man grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the Spirit of the Lord began to stir him in Mahane Dan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. I love the wife's response. She has to be the rock of that relationship, I'll be honest with you. She is, because Manoah throughout the entire thing is kind of quizzitive. He has faith, but he's still a little bit of a quizzitive person. But the wife never, at any point, questions who this person is. Because it does say Manoah at that point didn't know that this person was the angel of the Lord. Now, the wife may not have known as well. But she says, like, we've just been in the presence of God. And if he wanted to kill us, he would have killed us right there and then. But he showed us all these things so that we could do something great for him. And when she says that, it's like he's afraid of God at first. And she's like, but God is a loving God. He showed us this for a reason. He's going to take care of us. If he showed us this, then there's a purpose he has for us. And when I read that, it just blows my mind, the faith of these two individuals in this story. Maybe two individuals, we talk about people who had amazing faith, like Moses, Abraham. We talk about the hall of fame of faith in Hebrews chapter 11, all those people. You never hear about Manoah or his wife. But they had pretty incredible faith.
But you hear of his son in that list of 19.
Yeah, you hear of Samson.
Is in there.
Yep. Samson is in there. And think about the impact his faithful parents had on his life. Now, Samson may have detracted a little bit here and there, but his parents were probably his foundation, his rock. They're the ones that got him through. They're the one who raised him. So definitely, parents have a huge impact on their children, and it can be a really big positive impact. Daryl?
I don't know if you're going on into the story.
We're not going to go farther into Samson today,
Maybe I'm
but
jumping the gun. But later in Samson's life, he asks or commands his father to get the Philistine woman for him.
true.
And it seems like they acquiesce to him. The father does, and
True.
so forth. And the Israelites do,
Mm-hmm.
too, even though they know it's not right. So, do they have a part in the guilt that ruined Samson's potential?
I think there's a possibility in that. I also know that the father, the first thing he says to his son is, "But there's so many other people. Like, why don't you pick somebody from the fellow Israelites?" Now, yes, the parents did go down to help him in that matter. So I don't know. I haven't studied that part enough. So it could possibly be true. Do you have something, Jonathan?
You could repeat it. This is a very interesting story because when Samson does ask for the approval of his parents, they do say, "Isn't there someone in Israel?" And right after that, it says they did not know that this was from the Lord that he was asking, because God knew the long ball, that this would get him hostile towards the Philistines with the deception and everything. And he came back to mom and dad, as you know, after he was married.
Yeah.
So it's that phrase bothers me a little because it does say God's hand was in that.
No, yeah, there are some places, especially the story of Samson. It's a strange story. That's why the book of Judges is a really hard book to read. There's a lot of tough things that happen in this book. A lot of really, really, really tough things. We could go into the story of Jephthah, and we can go into that story. That's not a fun story to read. We could go into the last story in Judges with the Levite and his concubine. There's so many different stories in the book of Judges. They're just it's just too crazy to believe. That's why it's an extremely challenging book to read. But we find bits and pieces in this story, in this book, and I'm sure a lot more with a lot more study. We can find tons of great things that teach us about who God is. And I think Judges overall is a book where God shows that he's with his people. The unfortunate thing is that his people are rejecting him countless times after time. And God continues to intervene. And we look at our lives, and we do that too. We sometimes step away from God, and then God brings us back. And then we sin again, and he brings us back. The constant mercy of Christ who keeps coming back to us and says, I still love you. Let's get back on track. It's going to be A-okay. I'm going to take care of you. And from the story of Manoah and his wife, we here are in the presence of God as they were in the presence of God. Now, we're not talking to God face to face, but we have the Holy Spirit here who's with us. And we can come before Christ, and we can come to him with our prayers and our praises. And that's something right now that I'd like to do. I'd like to go into our prayer request and our praises time. Just to start us off, I'm sure people here have some prayer requests and praises.